Now behold, two of them were traveling the same day to a village called Emmaus, which was 7 miles from Jerusalem, and they talked together of all these things which had happened. So it was, while they conversed and reasoned, that Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were restrained, so that they did not know him. And he said to them, What kind of conversation is that you have with one another as you walk and are sad? Then one whose name was Cleopas answered and said to him, Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem, and have you not known the things which happen here in these days? And he said to them, What things? So they said to him, The things concerning Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death and crucified him. And we were hoping that it was who he was going to redeem Jerusalem. Indeed, besides all this, today is the 3rd day since these things happened. Yes, and certain women of our company who arrived at the tomb early astonished us. When they did not find his body, they came saying they had also seen a vision of angels who had seen him alive. And certain of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but him they did not see. Then he said to them, O foolish ones, and slow of heart to believe in all the prophets have spoken. Ought not Christ to have suffered these things to enter into his glory? And begin in Moses and all the prophets, he expounded to them in all the scriptures things concerning himself. They then drew to the village where they were going, and he indicated that he would have gone further. But they constrained him, saying, Abide with us, for toward this evening the day is far spent. And he went to stay with them. Now it came to pass, he sat at the table with them, that he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. Their eyes were opened, and they knew him, and he was vanished from their sight.
Word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
Thank you, Red. Very wonderfully done. This probably won't be a long message this morning, but I want you to pay a lot more attention to the words as I talk about this stuff, because there's a very powerful message. We all know about the walk to Emmaus. They actually have a walk at different places. I think they do one near Savannah area where they have the walk to Emmaus, and you can go for the weekend. It's a spiritual retreat. But as we go over some of the things that are within this passage, I just want you to really, really think of what is being said and what it actually means to your life. It is a lot of wonderful, wonderful stuff on how to live, but also stuff that we have gone through that the Lord has been there for. I've always heard people say that all of us have a Gethsemane, and we actually were singing that. The choir was singing that at Lead Me to Calvary when it talked about Gethsemane and Calvary. But I've always heard it said we all have a Gethsemane, a dark hour. And then I've always heard it said that we all have a Calvary. We all have a time in our life where we have to bear a cross too. But I want to talk this morning about, I believe that we all have an Emmaus walk. I believe that we all have a journey down that road when everything just seems lost and sad and the world has been turned upside down. Have you ever been at a place in your life where you felt like somebody took your life and flipped it upside down and shook you all around and you just could not get your bearings and you just felt lost? Anybody ever have one of them journeys? When your whole entire world was shaking. There's a song, and as y'all know, I love music, but sometimes in life when you get in a situation like that, and you've been in it for a while, eventually you have to say, you know what, I have to go on. I cannot stay. I cannot keep living like this. I cannot be in this situation anymore. Sometimes we even have to, has anybody ever moved from an area because the situation you just had to get away from? There's a song by Rascal Flatts that they did many years ago called I'm Moving On. And the words of it say, in one of the lines it says, I've lived in this place and I know all the faces. Each one is different, but they're always the same. They mean me no harm, but it's time that I face it. They'll never allow me to change. These two men are experiencing one of those days. Jesus has just been crucified. They buried him. And everything in their life has been turned upside down. And after a few days of waiting, they can't take it anymore. And they decide that they've got to move on. They've got to go back to where their home originally was. Go back to something more familiar. They have to get away from the other disciples. They have to get away from those people. They have to move on and go to another place to start putting their lives back together. I want you to join me in verse 15 and 16. Because it says, "So it was, while they conversed and reasoned, that Jesus himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were restrained, so that they did not know him." Jesus drew near to them, but they did not know that it was Jesus. They couldn't tell that it was Jesus. He was right there with them. He was talking with them, and they could not realize that it was Jesus. Have you ever noticed that Jesus has this way of showing up different than like we picture? Have you ever been in a situation where Jesus showed up, but it wasn't in the form of what you would have thought it would have been? Maybe a call, maybe a friend, maybe somebody you didn't even know was really a friend that all of a sudden, boom, steps up and is helping you through a tough time. And you have no idea that this is actually Jesus through the Holy Spirit leading someone to help you. We all have encounters with Jesus. A matter of fact, if y'all will remember in John when Mary goes to the tomb, Mary Magdalene, it says that she turned and there was Jesus, and it's supposing him to be the gardener. Mary, who knew Jesus, who was very, very close to Jesus, sees him and she thinks he's the gardener. Once again, Jesus does not always show up in the way that we think he should look, the way we think that he should be. Sometimes he's the one that you very least suspect. Verse 17, which is one of the most interesting parts, as they go on, it says, "He said to them, 'What kind of conversation is this that you have with one another as you walk and are sad?'" Anybody here ever lost somebody they cared about? Were you happy or were you sad? Sad. These men had just lost everything. They've just lost all their hope. They've lost their faith. They've lost everything. And they were walking, and it says as Jesus came up to them, as they were walking, they were sad. But I don't think they were just sad about his death, because in verse 21, it starts out with these words, "But we were hoping." See, they were hoping that Jesus was going to redeem Israel. They were hoping that Jesus was going to come and he was going to free them from the bondage to Rome. They were hoping for so much, but they were hoping for things here on earth. They were hoping that he would give them something here. And what they failed to realize is he was redeeming them. He was saving them. He was releasing them from bondage, but it wasn't from bondage to Rome or from bondage to another person. It was releasing and freeing them from the bondage of sin. You see, Jesus has this uncanny way of doing more than what we want. They were wanting this much, and Jesus said, "I'm going to give you this much. I'm going to give you even more." They were lost and all hope was gone. We were hoping he was going to redeem Israel. We were hoping. But what is so interesting, as he walked along, as these two men walked along, and they were sad, and as they were hoping, all of a sudden in their darkest hour, who shows up? Jesus. It bewilders me how when I get to